Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kenny O from Mahalo.com, and you may know me from LunchbagDad.com as well. And I got a special treat for you today. I'm here, and we're going to talk about drawing Pyramid Head, but that's not the special treat. Although he is one of my favorite characters from one of my favorite video games, which is Silent Hill. He's just a scary, scary guy. But you probably should not go see the movie. Although it was a pretty good movie, you shouldn't see the movie unless you're 17 or have your parents' permission. But my real special treat for you is that this is my actual Halloween costume that I'm wearing to the Mahalloween party that's in a couple of weeks. So I just wanted to show you guys first because, you know, I like you guys. So what do you think? This is Gene from Mahalo Design. He does a lot of the Photoshop tutorials and some of the After Effects tutorials. Now, it took me a couple minutes to get the beard just right, but this is actually, while Gene was asleep the other day, I went and shaved him and took some tape and went and then pulled his hair off and then just and glued it on my own face. And the same thing with his mohawk. But I took off just, you know, I just shaved his head and then I shaved my own head and then I just went and it was okay because his hair was already glued in place, so I didn't have to do anything there. But anyway, guys, so let's get started. We're going to draw Pyramid Head now. And you're going to find the Pyramid Head. This is going to be a little bit more advanced because I'm going to do this from more of like a comic booky kind of perspective. But the great thing is that there's a lot of simple shapes. So the first thing is we want to lay out our bag. And we're going to start off, and I know I've talked to you guys about this, I'm going to start off right now with a line of action. And that's pretty much going to go just like this. The Pyramid Head, he's got a weird way of standing because he's got this giant knife that he carries around. But anyway, let's go ahead and we got our line of action here, and this will be pretty much where his neck is. So I'm going to go ahead and draw his head in. Now, we don't really know what's under there, but I'm just going to assume that he's a person, and he's got an actual human head. And then we've got a neck here. Now, when you go a little further and you get into some life drawing classes, you're going to see that all of these shapes that I'm about to draw, they're a little bit more advanced. This is basically a square, okay? This is basically going to be Pyramid Head's rib cage. And so you can see here it's kind of like a square, okay, from the side view, rib cage. And then he's going to be standing down here like this. So I'm just going to draw a line down. Now all this kind of goes in the line of action. And like I said, he stands really weird because he's got this big sword. So from here, I'm just going to take this line of action and make it his spine, okay? And then I'm going to draw his hips, okay, which are another little square like this, okay? And it's a little bit of a modified square. But then we're going to have him standing a little bit out, and for right here, we're just going to draw a quick little circle. Now another thing you guys might notice is it's a little tough because you got this little edge here. But don't get discouraged, just go the other way. And I know I usually tell you that lines are a one-way street, but sometimes you have to go the other way with it, okay? So for this, just finish drawing my circle. And the one thing that I have over Gene is he's so jealous of my circles. Watch this. Look at how good that circle is. That circle is way better than what Gene can draw, but he's really good at straight lines, which I'm pretty good, but he's drawing so many straight lines, and I know in my other lesson I told you guys just draw straight lines and straight lines and straight lines, and the more straight lines you draw, the better you're going to get. Okay, guys, let's take this leg and put it back here, and we'll just take another leg and set it forward, because he's got a balance. Now, when I show you guys this massive sword that he carries around, you're going to see that there's a reason his leg is back this far. It's because he needs to balance, okay? So let's start drawing his arm, and we're going to draw his shoulder just with another little circle. Look at how good that circle is. It's like I took a quarter and traced around it. And that's another thing you guys can do. You can trace around a quarter, but remember, get your arm into it. Get your whole arm into it, okay? None of this, don't pet your lines. It's not a little cat, okay? You don't want to just go over there. The line is never going to purr, no matter how much you pet it. But it probably will sit there and eat all your food. Well, eat all its food and be lazy like cats, because they're lines and they don't do anything. It just sits right here on the paper. Anyway, guys. So here we are with his arm, and this is when I tell you guys that you have to take a lot of life drawing class later on when you get a little bit better, because watch this. Some of these shapes, like this tricep here, it's kind of like a little reverse J. And then we've got his bicep, and it's still basically a square, but we're taking, and part of this square is going to disappear and become part of the tricep. Okay, now biceps and triceps, biceps are the big, like make a muscle, and then triceps are the ones right here underneath. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to draw a line kind of from his shoulder. This is just a construction line, straight across, because here is where his shoulder muscles connect with his chest muscles. Okay, and there we go. So we got a good little arm going there, and now we've got his elbow here. Okay, and we want to draw just a quick little hint, and again, one-way streets with your lines. Quick little hint of his forearm bones, because then we're going to draw his hand. Now, in this case, he's got a fist. So we have to come in here, and I can't say this enough, guys, you need to draw hands. And you can just look at your own hand, or look in the mirror, or make a fist, or hold on to something like this window film application solution right here, and just look and see how your hand sits. Because in this case, since this knife is really, really heavy, his wrist is going to sit kind of like this. Okay? If it was really light, he could pick it up no problem and probably not drip stuff on him like I just did. But anyway, guys, so now here's another great thing that I always tell you. Don't be afraid to draw through the character. Watch this. See that? One line, whoop, right through, and you can draw a really straight line. Look at that, I just drew another line right on top of it without even missing. The only reason I can do this, guys, and it seems silly, and I tell you this all the time, just get a piece of paper. Here, we'll just do it right on the other side of this. No one will ever see. Because when we hold out our lunch bag, we'll just be like, hey, trick or treat, and nobody will see that on the other side, we've been practicing. We draw a little dot here, and a little one here. Take your whole arm. Remember, guys, right at the elbow, you just want to do one of these. And you take your pencil, you measure, and you're like, okay, I think I got it, I think I got it, and when you're ready, whoosh, drop the pencil. You do that, whoosh, 500 more times. Okay, do I have it, do I have it? And whoosh, drop the pencil. Do I have it? I think, oh, I don't think I have it. Well, let's give it anyway. Oh, I kind of got it, it was a little bit off, but you know what, we're not going to go over that one. So we just move on. And the more of these you do, guys, the more times you do that, the more times you can take and draw a very straight line, just like this one, which is going to serve as the handle for his giant, giant butcher knife. Now, this is the kind of knife that if you see Mom in the kitchen chopping carrots, if you take that knife and make it the size of your refrigerator, that's how big this knife is. So we're going to go ahead and draw another line, kind of parallel to this one, because he's got a handle. Okay? And then I'm going to turn my paper a little bit this way, and don't be afraid to turn your paper, because you want to make sure that your line drawer, which is your arm from your elbow to your hand, lock that wrist, and don't draw with your fingers. I know I told you guys before that when I went to college, you know, I was right here, because I used to use a tiny, tiny little pencil, like the size of this. My pencil used to be this big, right here, and I used to just get in there like this, and my teacher was like, hey, you can't do that. What are you doing? You have to draw with your whole arm. So that's what I'm telling you guys to do. All right, so let's get right in there and draw a line perpendicular. Now, perpendicular means kind of like a plus sign. Like this would be parallel, which is be going in the same direction, and going exactly the opposite direction. Well, not exactly the opposite, but at 90 degrees straight at it, that's perpendicular. Okay, guys. So now I'm going to do another kind of parallel line, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn the paper upside down, because when I draw with my elbow, look, you can see that my arm automatically does kind of an arc, right, if I go far enough. So we're going to take that arc, and we're going to use it. And we're going to just draw, look, same thing as if I'm drawing lines. Just sitting here, I'm getting confident with my lines, and one-way street, whoosh, right over, and you can see now this line has a little bit of a curve to it, because this is a big, giant knife. All right, so we're almost ready to grab the pen here and do some inking, but first, Pyramid Head has a little bit more muscle definition, so I'm going to come in here and draw some muscles. Here we go. It's got this forearm going on here. All right. Now, the way you're going to learn where all the muscles go and what they look like is by going to Life Drawing class, and if you don't have that, then get your mom or dad to help you out and say, hey, Mom or Dad, can you get me some pictures of some athletes like some football players or something like that, because when you look at close-up pictures of like football players, if you're drawing a guy who's this big and beefy, then you're going to see a guy in real life who's big and beefy. And just look how his muscles go on his arm. And then that's how you're going to get to know where all the muscles go. This only comes from hours and hours and hours of drawing, lots and lots of pencil miles. Well, now what we're going to do is we're going to draw Pyramid Head's butcher smock. So what that is that's the piece of clothing that you wear if you're a butcher and you carve up the meat in the deli so that you don't get a lot of meat juice on you. And so he wears one of those because that's what he used to do. He used to run a butcher shop at his local deli. So one day people gypped him of some money, like they went out and they forgot to pay. So instead of being a nice guy about it, he just got a really big knife and he went to ask them if they needed some more help at home to cut up some meat there. Anyway, guys, what I'm going to do here is let's take a look. Again, this is where his rib cage was, right? You can still see kind of it there. And don't be afraid to draw right through those lines. And now here's his hips. And we never really connected this, but his ab muscles, okay, will connect right from his rib cage straight down to his hips. Okay. Now, so we do this so that we know that when he puts that butcher smock on, the same way that if you look at my arm, the sleeves go right along my arm. Now, if we have his abs in place, we know right where the butcher smock is going to go. It's going to go right along there. And then I'll come out here a little bit. Maybe he's got some, things hanging off here where he ties his butcher smock. And then, again, this is going to go along his leg. And the leg muscles kind of look something like this. He's got some little thing going on here. So right along his leg. Now, it's not going to go exactly along his leg into every single crease, but if we know where his leg is, like let's say this is where his muscles meet, then we can take the smock and just put it right over there so that it'll look as though he's actually wearing it. All right, now one of Pyramid Head's most recognizable features, obviously I think, is his pyramid head. That's where he gets his name. So right here, where his head would be, this is the most basic shape of any scary creature you're ever going to draw. We're just going to draw a big, big, mean triangle. Ready? Let's go. Get ready with our lines. And you know what? I'm even going to put some dots here so that I know that I've been practicing. And even when you're drawing, you can still be practicing. So here we are. You ready? I think I make it. What do you guys think? You guys think I should do it now? Go ahead and put it in the comments and tell me when you think I should do it. And then what I'll do is I'll make another video, and then at that video, I'll do the straight line, and you can just click right over. No, I'm just kidding, guys. We're going to do it right now. Ready? 1, 2, there you go. Straight line. That just comes from years and years and years of drawing straight lines. You guys can get there too, so don't get discouraged. All right, now I'm going to come right over here and put another dot. And I'm actually going to go out a little bit with this dot. And I'm just going to go same thing, straight across. And then down here, I'm going to pretend that this dot is a little bit off of my paper. So I'm going to pretend it's like, I don't know, right over here. And I'm just going to kind of go for that. There we go. Oops, I got a little bit on the table. All right, so there's Pyramid Head. I think maybe the pyramid might be a little bigger. So don't be afraid to go in and just make another line. Because again, we're going to be coloring this one in. So all of this stuff is going to be drawn over. But the other great thing about Pyramid Head is that he doesn't just have a top to his head because it's a pyramid. No, that's not what I meant. There actually are 2 lines here. Because if you look here, I'm going to draw another line. Now, when a line goes right next to a line in the same direction, what do we call that? You guys remember? That's right, parallel. You got it. Okay, so parallel line, same thing. Am I ready? Am I ready? I'm ready. Another one parallel. I'm ready. I'm ready. There we go. Okay, because Pyramid Head has this other area in here, which is all like a metal mesh so he can see through. Because otherwise he'd just be like this, and he'd be walking into walls and bumping his head. And pretty soon it wouldn't be Pyramid Head, it'd be Square Head, because he'd walk into so many things that it'd squish his Pyramid Head nose. All right. Now I'm going to put a couple little details here. I'm going to flare this out a little bit, and you can do that. And then pyramid hair, pyramid hair, pyramid hair. Pyramid Head hasn't probably had a haircut in a long time, so I'm just going to pretend there's some hair sticking out here in the back. And I think we're about ready to get started on the inking part. What do you guys think? You guys think I should take a pen to this? All right, let's see what we've got here. Now from here, we have a Sharpie for our thick lines, and we have another thinner pen for any kind of detail. Now, I always like to go over some of the thicker lines first, and then get in there in the end and cut in some detail. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take and I'm going to do my straight lines in the top first, and I'm going to work my way down. And the reason I'm going to work my way down is because when you get into comic books, or if you get into any kind of like pen and ink drawing, or you get into painting, or even later on when we come back here and we grab some pastels and go back into this one, it's a lot easier to keep all the ink and stuff from smearing if you work in one direction, so that the ink is here, the ink is here, the ink is here, and your hand never goes into the ink. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is do this nice, strong, confident line right here. I don't know why I took a break. It's just because I'm a little silly. Okay, guys, ready? 1, 2, you got it? You think you got it? Oh, look at that. It's too late now. It's a good thing we got it. You know why? Because we drew all those lines. And if you draw all those lines, you're going to get it too. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of this flare out here and do one of those. And then, oh! I dropped the pen a little early, but it's okay. Okay, so there we go. And then I'm going to come back here. And you know what? Maybe this time I'm going to grab the little pen. And we're going to go back over with the Sharpie in a little bit, and I'll show you guys all about line weight. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come right in here to his shoulder, and I'm just going to start drawing in a couple of the definition lines. Now, again, I don't necessarily expect you guys to be at this point where you know where all the muscles go, but remember, if you take and you look at, say, the internet, you know, get your parents first, but, you know, I have the internet right here, and, you know, I just got a picture of Pyramid Head hanging out. It's just for reference. It's kind of in the same pose, kind of not. Let me turn that over for you. But you can look at, like I said before, you look at football players or, you know, somebody who's an athlete, so they're big and strong, and you can see how the muscles all look. Now, one of the things is with the shoulder muscle, a lot of these muscles, they go in the same direction. Okay, so you see how this line is kind of curved this way? Well, we're going to put another line kind of curved in the same area. Because these muscles, they're just like lines. They're a one-way street. And then we come up over here, and we got a little bit of definition in here. Just take that down. We have quite a bit of definition over here. Now again, guys, make sure that you're looking at a reference image, and all a reference image is another picture that you got from maybe a magazine or something. Have your parents help you out, and they'll find something that's kind of like what you're going to draw. If you're drawing cars, make sure you have a couple different pictures of cars so that you know that, hey, you know what? Right here, there's a tiny little light on the side that I didn't really draw because all I remembered was there was our headlights. I didn't remember this tiny little light over here. So make sure you use some reference images because they're going to help you out. All right, let's get in here and work in some more detail. Just going to go in here, and again, remembering right where all these construction lines were. And don't be afraid, you see how I went over that line twice? Don't be afraid to get in there and add a little line weight even with the smaller pen. And we're going to do this a little bit later with the Sharpie when we get in here. But for now, we're just going to come in and just cut right in there and make a couple lines. All right, now we're going to work on the triceps. And you remember, this was that square I was telling you about. Right here, I'll darken it in a little bit. So the triceps come down here off the shoulder, and then they flare out a little bit, just like that. And his triceps are tensed right now. When you're moving your arm like this, your biceps are tense. When you move your arm like this, your triceps are tense. It's whichever side is pulling. Okay, right now my bicep is pulling my arm forward, so that's going to be the tinier, tenser one. Right now my tricep is pulling this way. Okay, my bicep doesn't push, my tricep pulls. So if you're not sure of which one is going to pull, then just sit there and feel your own muscles as you're working it out. Okay, back to his biceps and triceps. So again, I know this just from drawing and drawing and drawing. But this is roughly what his triceps are going to look like. You're going to have a little bit of shadow right here. And then we'll get in there and get his make a muscle. That's right. If your dad comes over and he's like, hey, go ahead and make a muscle, and you just do one of these, and he's going to feel your muscle. This is the same one that we're drawing right now. Now this guy is so big and strong that he needs extra blood to go to his muscles to make them work. So that's why we've got this little vein in here, and by little vein, I mean it's like the size of Mount Everest. So he's got one of those there, kind of comes in here, and then we're going to draw some of his forearm. Don't be afraid to make any mistakes either, because you know what? We're going to pastel over this later, and you won't even see them. Just make sure you get in there, be confident with your lines, and before you know it, you're going to be a way better artist than both me and Gene. Okay, let's see what we got here. We've got a little bit of the elbow. Okay, we've got the elbow right here. Now you notice I'm coming here on the outside and making the lines a little bit thicker. Maybe now's a good time to talk about line weight. Now, line weight basically is going to help you show a little bit of three-dimensionality in this image without actually making it 3D, without actually going in and making the 3D model. So if there are some areas that might be a little bit in shadow, you can just make those darker, maybe with a Sharpie, and get real light with it here, and then come in and just darken some of that up. And that's some good line weight there that we'll talk about a little bit later in another episode here. Boom. It's also going to separate. You can see here, it separates the arm here a little bit because there'll be a little bit of shadow under there. Okay, a little bit of shadow. So it's going to make it so that that arm really pops. All right, now we know there's going to be shadow underneath the giant pyramid, so I'm going to come in here with a Sharpie and make this real dark. Just going to go in there and get a little lighter here. Make this a little bit darker. There you go. Probably darken this up a little bit. All right. Let's move on with his arm. Back here. This is going to be actually the elbow bone. Okay. These are the bones here. Here's his wrist. You got a little bit of muscle coming out the back there. And we got a little bit of indication here. The other side. All right, now we get into the hands. And remember what I said about hands. So this right here, he's holding it like this. So you can see that, okay, if he was holding it like that, that would be like just a basic square. But he's holding it down, remember, because it's really heavy. And his hand is tilted in a little bit. So it kind of looks like we took a cube and just tilted it on its side. So that's what we're going to do right here. The first thing I'm going to do is make his thumb. And now this bone right here is this right here. And then I'm going to come back on the other side and just cut in here and make his pinky bone. Okay, so that would actually be like right here, and it'd cut in there somewhere. And let me show you here. All these bones connect to the wrist. So if we go ahead and do something like this, we're going to see exactly where all these bones meet up. All right, so we just made the framework there, and we're just going to do one of those. Now this is, remember, his thumb, so it's going to go behind the knife, so we can cut in the knife a little bit there to show that it went behind. And then I'm going to make his hand flare out a little bit, and what I'm going to do is, Pyramid Head likes to keep his hand down the knife, almost like it's like a glove, or like a glove, like a gun. So we're going to put one finger just, I'm even going to draw it in with a pencil first. Kind of like this. And we don't have to get too detailed here, we're just going to put it straight down. It doesn't have to be perfect, you don't have to put in every single joint. We're just going to give the indication, since it's so tiny here, of what the finger would look like. There we go, just like that. All right. Here's one of the really kind of creepy things. This knife hasn't been cleaned in 1,000,007 years. So he's got some really old wood. So for here, if you want to give the sort of illusion of something being a little bit older, a little bit more beat up, what you want to do is draw really slowly a straight line. Because if I draw that really fast, it's going to be very straight. But if I take my time and draw it a little bit slowly, it's not going to be exactly even. And that's okay, because that's what we want, because this is made of wood, remember. So it'll be a little bit uneven. Maybe there's even like a little crack in the wood. So the crack will be kind of straight. We'll do a quick little straight crack here. And then maybe another one parallel to it. Maybe they meet down there. And then we'll take and go along our other construction line right in here. And there we go. Now we have a piece of wood. And if you've ever seen a piece of wood, wood has a bunch of little lines in it, little skinny lines. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take some time, draw a couple little skinny lines just running through there so it looks a little bit more like wood. There you go, just like that. Now again, you remember what I said about line weight? It's going to be the same thing here. Let's take a Sharpie, and I'm just going to go in here and put a little bit more weight maybe behind his arm here. Not too much. Maybe I'll take the Sharpie and put it on the edge. There you go, just a little bit. And then it's going to get pretty dark in here. And I want to emphasize sort of the darker underside. And the reason that I'm only doing kind of one side with the line weight is because if the light is coming from over here, then his pyramid's going to cast a shadow on him. And this side on the top is going to be lighter, okay, than the side on the bottom, because this is where all the shadow's going to be. If the light's coming down, this side's going to be darker, this side's going to be lighter, because this is where the light's hitting. So when you're thinking about line weight, that's what you want to think about right there. Okay? So it makes the underside a little bit darker. I'm going to go back in with the smaller pen here and just darken up some of my lines that are on the underside there. There we go, just like that. Happy little lines. Just like Bob Ross and his happy trees. Except they're lines. And maybe I'm even going to darken this up because it's a little kind of rough and bumpy, so maybe there's some, more dark there. And here, I'm going to darken this up because there's some shadow coming from his arm maybe. So this will be a little darker. And that's okay. All right, so this is coming along really well. Now what we're going to do is we're going to hook this handle. Now remember, we drew a line straight through and you can't see it, but here, let me just emphasize it for you. It kind of goes right here through his fingers. So we know exactly where the front of the handle comes out. It comes out right here, right? Because we can see it. There's our line right through the hand. And remember, this is all wood, so it's got some lines in it too. And then right here is where the knife part attaches. Now, metal is going to be really strong. So the way we have this wood here all kind of beat up, the metal is going to be really strong, and it's going to be pretty straight, okay? Because the metal takes and keeps its straight edges for a long time. So we want to do this one pretty quickly. And it's a little tough because we've got some older lunch bag that we're working on here. We've been really putting this lunch bag through the motions here. And I'm going to give a little, you know how sometimes maybe a knife could break a little bit and there's a little chip off? I'm just going to give a little chip right there. Okay, with that little chip, because he's been using this for a long time, now I'm going to take and just Remember that straight line we drew a minute ago? Right up there. And then, remember this, guys. Remember the curve. Remember the curve of your elbow. We're going to do the same thing right along the bottom edge of the knife. Now, the bottom edge of the knife you want to keep really thin. You don't want to put a lot of line weight there. And the reason is because if you put a lot of line weight on the edge of the knife, it'll make the knife look like it's thicker and really dull. And this knife is really sharp. So really sharp things are really, 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 really thin. Really thin, really thin, really thin. Anyway, they're really thin. All right, guys. Now he looks, we've got most of his muscles in place. We have his big, gigantic knife. I'm going to put a little bit of a highlight area kind of in his knife. And this doesn't have to be perfect because, again, it's kind of an older knife, but this is where the edge would be. This is where the edge would kind of start. So got a little bit there, and we'll put on the back here a little bit thicker so that we know that that's where that edge starts. Just to kind of give the indication of, you know, maybe one time, hundreds of years ago, he sharpened that knife. Probably not very sharp right now. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to do his butcher's smock. Now the smock is made of leather, so there are going to be a lot of kind of curves and little grooves in it, little valleys. And so here's what we're going to do. First, I'm just going to kind of do the outline, and then I'm going to figure out where all the folds and wrinkles go. First, I'm going to draw in this wrinkle right here, even though I just said I was going to draw the outline first. But I can see from when I first started that I kind of put a little fold there, and that's one of the great things about keeping sketchy with it, guys. If you keep sketchy with it, sometimes you'll just get a couple of little magical little lines there that'll appear, and you won't even know why they're there, but when you see them, when you're going through and you're inking, you're like, wow, that really looks good. And now if I do one of these, it kind of looks like I planned that, and really, I didn't plan anything. It was just one of those magical little lines that, you know, that happens if you keep it a little sketchy. All right, so now this is where it started to go down and curve in a little bit, if you remember, so that it went along his muscles here in the front. And then here was his pelvis area, and then here's his front leg, okay, that we only drew in kind of a little bit. I'm just going to do a little bit of shading right here so you can see that that's where his leg is. And then remember, we drew right through it, and you might not be able to see this on the camera, but I can still see the pencil line. Pencil line still comes right down, right through there. So we're going to go right here where it came out, and we're just going to bring it out like that, like he has his foot way forward. All right, let's go into the back here, the back of his little butcher smock, and I'm going to draw a little kind of funny little shape here. There's just a couple little ones that look like maybe he tied a knot. Okay, and then we're going to go with this flowing string area, and this is how he tied his smock together. Okay, so we'll just make it look like it's a little bit tied there and it flows a little bit. There we go. Just something like that. And remember, if you go outside the lines a little bit like that, we can always cover that up a little bit later with some line weight. Sometimes it's not about exactly how you're doing it, it's about how you cover it up. So don't be afraid to make mistakes, guys. And you know what? Hang on to your mistakes, because later on in life, if you're like me, you're going to go back and you're going to look at some of those notebooks and stuff that you used to draw in, and you're going to see some of those mistakes, and you're going to be like, wow, I got a lot better now. I'm really, you know, I put a lot of miles on my pencil. So, or in this case, on my marker. And there we go. Just a little bit of line weight in there, and you can't ever tell that I made a little mistake. Okay, and then we'll put another one down here. And this one's not going to go too far out. It's just going to go about right there. And it's not going to taper off as much. It's going to do one of those and kind of just be in its own little world. There we go. All right. Let's go ahead and hurry up and finish this up. We got a little bit more on the butcher smock. So I'm just going to come in here like this and do a little bit of shading initially. Do the outline. And remember, we know where this outline is because when we started, we drew in his legs. Because we know that anything that you're wearing goes right along the muscles. All right, so now I'm going to come back in, put a little more line weight, do a little shading. As you can see, that we got the leg here. So I'm going to do just the slightest little bit of like maybe there's a little bit of, I don't know, maybe there's a little bit of shade here. This is where his leg kind of goes. And his butcher smock goes up a little bit. All right, we got a little bit of shading right here. Don't be afraid to even get a little sketchy with it because it's just going to add some texture. And we're looking like we're pretty well done here. The only thing that I want to finish up with is we'll put a little bit of detail in his pyramid head, I don't know, the metal mesh that he sees through. A little bit of detail there. Kind of goes off the page. Now if you want, you can spend a whole lot of time. There's a whole bunch of different ways you can do this. But in here, this will probably go over a little bit. And then there's a little bit of maybe you know, some other details in here. Maybe he does one of these. Look at a lot of different shapes. Look at a lot of different textures. Look at some metal, because you're going to see a lot of different ways to do highlights that you may not have caught if you don't look at a bunch of different things. Okay, now the metal mesh itself, you can do a couple different ways. Now you can do a bunch of cross hatching. Okay, like this, where cross hatching is basically you just make lines in different directions, and that would be really easy. Or you can go in, and if you want, you can go every single individual hole, and that's a little crazy. So for right now, I'm just going to put in some cross hatching lines, and then we're probably going to be calling this one a done drawing. This is another great exercise in doing parallel lines over and over. And remember, guys, parallel lines, drawing from your arm. You can see right here, I'm drawing from my arm. I might even just put in straight parallel lines and just leave them. I might not even cross hatch, because we're just going for the effect here. Oh, you can see my pen's running out of ink a little bit, so we'll just turn the pen. You may ask yourself, how can you draw all those parallel lines? Like I've said a bunch of times, and you'll hear me say it again, you just got to draw. You got to practice. You got to put pencil miles on. The more you practice, the more pencil miles you have, the more you're going to be able to draw straight lines, and you're going to get really, really good. So good that all your friends are going to be like, wow, can you guys draw me something? And then that's another thing I'd like to remind you guys of. Anything you guys want to see us draw, just send your request to requests@mahalo.com, and we'll go ahead and draw it. And it'll all be free. And where else can you get anything for free? If you go and you say, hey, listen, I want a hamburger. If you go to McDonald's and say, hey, can I have a hamburger for free? They're going to just laugh at you. But if you call us and you say, hey, guys, can you draw me Pyramid Head from Silent Hill? And we'll say, yeah, of course we can draw that for you. Now, you know what else? We're even going to give it to you for free. All right, so I'm going to come in here and just beef up 2 or 3 more lines, and we're going to call this one a finished drawing. Right in here, just going to give it a little bit of line weight in the bottom. Because 2 reasons. One, a couple of my lines got a little bit of stray there, and that's fine. Beef up this top area here. And don't be afraid to get real light with your Sharpie, because it's a thick marker. But you see, if you get light with there, you can taper that off, and there you go. See that? And then you got a bunch of little lines there. You can thicken this one up just a little bit, not too much. You don't want it to be as thick as the Sharpie. And there we go. I think I'm gonna, oh wait, you forgot the hair. For the hair, I'm just gonna put a couple little things here. Like he's got some scraggly hair, like he hasn't washed it in a whole long time and it's really kind of nasty. And that's something else. You guys want to make sure that you wash your hair once in a while. And don't put glue in it like I have, or actually like Gene has. Because if you put a lot of glue in it, then you definitely got to wash it. You got to wash it all the time. Because glue is something that's probably not good for your hair. I have it in my hair anyway because I'm a little crazy. Alright guys, that's it for Pyramid Head. And I'll just come in here and put in a quick little knuckle. Okay. That's it for Pyramid Head. Come back another time. Maybe we'll color this guy in. I don't know. Maybe we won't because I don't know. I'm kind of liking it. What do you guys think? Go ahead and send me a comment and let me know what you guys think of Pyramid Head here. And if you want to see anything else, guys, send it to requests@mahalo.com. All right, guys. Thanks for watching.